Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into some wisdom.
Awesome. So today we're tackling Proverbs, specifically chapter 21.
Oh, Proverbs 21. That's a good one. Lots to unpack there.
It really is. We're talking wisdom, justice, righteousness, all the good stuff.
It's like a guide to navigating life, even thousands of years after it was written.
Right. And this chapter dives into some pretty interesting stuff. Power dynamics, wealth, relationships, even what it's like living with a difficult wife.
Yeah, that one always gets people talking, but there's a lot of depth to those verses if we look at them in context.
Exactly. So shall we jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Proverbs 21 starts off strong, right out the gate talking about the king's heart.
Oh, absolutely. Verse 1, the king's heart is like a stream of water directed by the Lord. He guides it wherever he pleases.
It's like bam, right into the heart of power dynamics.
Exactly. And, kings held a lot of power in ancient Israel.
Oh yeah, for sure. But this verse is saying even their hearts are ultimately steered by a higher power.
Right. It sets up this idea that no matter how much control we think we have, there's always a bigger picture at play.
A bigger picture, guided by God. I like that. And then verse 2 kind of builds on that, right?
Yeah, it talks about how people may think their own ways are right, but the Lord weighs the heart.
So our actions might look good on the surface, but it's what's going on inside that really matters to God.
Exactly. Proverbs is all about getting to the core of our motivations. It's challenging us to look inward.
To do some serious soul searching. And speaking of actions and intentions, verse 3 really hits home for me.
Which one is that?
To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. It's like God cares more about what we do than about fancy rituals.
It's a powerful message, especially in a culture where sacrifices were a big deal.
So it's not about going through the motions. It's about living a life of integrity.
Exactly. Walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And speaking of walking the walk, the next few verses paint a pretty vivid picture of what happens when we don't.
Oh yeah, verses 4 through 8 get pretty real about the consequences of pride, deceit, and violence. There's that one about wealth gained dishonestly.
Wealth created by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor, a deadly snare. Verse 6.
Oof, yeah. It's like, sure, you might get rich by cheating and lying, but it won't last.
Proverbs is full of these warnings that what seems like a shortcut actually leads to a dead end.
It's like those get-rich-quick schemes you see online. Sounds tempting, but ultimately...
Ultimately, it's all an illusion. True prosperity has to be built on a solid foundation.
A foundation of integrity and fairness. Got it. Okay, so moving on, we get to those verses about domestic life, which always sparks some interesting conversations.
Yeah, verses 9 and 19, those are the ones that compare living with a quarrelsome wife to, well, some pretty unpleasant situations.
Living in a corner of an attic, wandering in the desert. Pretty dramatic imagery, right?
It is, but remember, this was written in a very different cultural context. Family life was structured differently back then.
Right. So maybe it's not meant to be taken literally.
Exactly. It's more like a hyperbolic way of saying, hey, constant conflict at home is really detrimental to your well-being.
So it's more about the underlying message of domestic harmony.
Exactly. A peaceful home is something to be valued and nurtured.
Gotcha. So it's not about picking on wives or anything like that.
Not at all. It's a reminder for everyone to cultivate healthy relationships.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the chapter shifts gears a bit, talking about social justice and caring for the poor.
Absolutely. Verses 10 to 13 really emphasize that.
Yeah, verse 13 is a powerful one. Those who shut their ears to the cries of the poor will be ignored in their own time of need.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected. Turning a blind eye to the suffering of others ultimately hurts us all.
It's like we're all part of this big web, and our actions have ripple effects.
Precisely. What we do to others, we do to ourselves in a way. And that's a theme that runs throughout Proverbs 21, this idea that wisdom isn't just about personal gain. It's about living in right relationship with others.
Right. And there are so many little nuggets of wisdom packed into this chapter. It's almost like every verse is its own mini lesson.
It is, like verse 14 about how a secret gift can calm anger. It speaks to the power of generosity, not for show, but from the heart.
And then verse 15 about how justice brings joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers. It's like when you're living in alignment with what's right, even tough times feel purposeful.
Exactly. And then there's verse 25, the one about the desires of the lazy person killing them because their hands refuse to work.
Oh man, that one hits close to home sometimes. But it's true, procrastination can really steal our joy.
It's a reminder that we have to put in the effort if we want to see our dreams come to fruition.
No pain, no jay, right? But then, just when you think it's all about our own hard work, Proverbs 21 reminds us who's really in control.
Verses 30 and 31. No human wisdom or understanding or plan can stand against the Lord. The horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord.
Mic drop moment.
Right. It brings us full circle to that theme of divine sovereignty. We can plan and strategize all we want, but ultimately,
Ultimately, it's about recognizing a power greater than ourselves.
yes, it's about surrendering to a bigger plan and trusting that even when things don't go our way, there's a purpose behind it all.
Humbling, for sure, but also kind of freeing in a way.
It is. It allows us to let go of the need to control everything and just trust the process.
Wow. You know, it's amazing how a chapter written thousands of years ago can still speak to us so powerfully today. It shows that human nature, the challenges we face, the things we long for, they haven't really changed that much.
Absolutely. There's a timeless quality to these proverbs that transcends culture and time.
So, as you go about your day, think about what verse from Proverbs 21 sticks with you. What wisdom resonated most deeply? Let those words guide your actions, your thoughts, your interactions with others. And remember, the journey of uncovering wisdom is a lifelong adventure.
Well said. There's always more to learn and discover in the book of Proverbs.
Exactly. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time.
It was a pleasure. Always enjoy these conversations.